The first thing I did on the day I got my divorce certificate was removing Gu Huai from my emergency contact list. He didn't come to the Civil Affairs Bureau. His assistant sent over a bouquet of white roses with a card that read, "Stop making a scene. Come home for dinner tonight." I stood at the door, staring at that bouquet of flowers for a long time. 3 years ago, when I had a miscarriage, he also sent his assistant white roses. The card read, "Get some rest." 2 years ago, on my birthday, he was at Shin Kinga's art exhibition opening. His assistant brought a cake and a bouquet of white roses. The card said, "Happy birthday." A year ago, when I had a gastric hemorrhage, he said Shin Kinga had just returned to the country and wasn't adapting to the hospitals here. So, he had to accompany her. An assistant brought a bowl of porridge and a bouquet of white roses. On the card it said, "Eat more. White roses. White roses." It was always the white rose. He turned everything that should have been personally attended into a bouquet of white roses delivered by his assistant. I didn't take the flowers away. I took a photo of the divorce certificate and sent it to Gu Huai. Half an hour later, he replied to me, "Suguan, do you have to force me like this?" I stared at the screen, suddenly feeling incredibly light. It turns out not explaining is much better than explaining. I turned off my phone and walked into the hospital. At 3:00 in the afternoon, I was going to perform my final surgery. The nurse handed me the surgical consent form. "Is there no family member here to sign in the designated section?" I said. "Just left." She glanced up at me, didn't ask further, and pushed the pen a little closer to my hand. I wrote my name in the section for patient signature. Suguan. These 2 words. I once wrote them on the guarantee letter for Gu Huai's company, on the joint loan documents for our marital home, in the drafts of his early brand proposals when he started his business, and on one hospital payment slip after another. Only this time, they were written for myself. The nurse came over to verify the information. Suguan, 28 years old. Hysteroscopic surgery requires follow-up examinations post-operation, and you should avoid overexertion in the near future. Is Mr. Gu Huai still the emergency contact? I paused for a moment, then I shook my head. Delete it. The nurse was taken aback. I said, "Don't notify him about my affairs from now on." She lowered her head and changed the information in the system. Her phone lit up again. Gu Huai sent a message. 7:00 in the evening. "Come home. Mom is here." 2. I stared at the 3 words. "Mom is here." 2. For a few seconds. He always does this. Never says he wants to see me. Just saying that my family is waiting for me. The elders are waiting for me. The scene is waiting for me. It seems that as long as others are pushed forward, I must be sensible before the anesthesia. I heard the girl in the next bed calling her boyfriend. "I'm a little scared. Hurry up and come." I don't know what was said on the other end of the phone. The girl let out a soft laugh. "Okay, then I'll wait for you." I closed my eyes. I've waited before. 2. Waited for Gu Huai to come to the hospital. Waited for him to remember birthdays. Waited for him to say a word when his mother humiliated me. Waiting for him to choose me over Shun Kinga, even just once. Later, I finally understood. The one you can't wait for isn't far away. It's because they don't want to come. When Gu Huai received the photo of the divorce certificate, he was at Shun Kinga's art gallery. Shun Kinga's new exhibition was about to open, and the lighting angle was slightly off. She stood in the center of the gallery, her eyes slightly red. "Ah, Huai, am I really so useless? I can't even handle something this small properly." Gu Huai adjusted the lights for her for half an hour. He has never liked dealing with these trivial matters. But Shan Kinga is different. The moment she lowered her head, he was reminded of the little girl from many years ago who sent him emails from abroad saying she couldn't hold on alone. His phone vibrated just as he was watching the shadows cast by the light on the canvas. He looked down and saw the photo I sent. 2 divorce certificates, red to the point of being glaring. Gu Huai frowned. Shin Kinga leaned in, her gaze sweeping across the screen, and her expression immediately changed. "Is it because of me? Sister-in-law is angry again." Her voice was very soft. "Should I go explain to her?" I really don't want to affect you. 2. Gu Huai slammed his phone onto the table. No need. Shen Kinga pursed her lips. But she already sent you the divorce certificate. Gu Huai sneered coldly. She always does this. She'll come back once she's had enough of making a scene. He said it so naturally that when Shen Kinga lowered her eyes, she could hardly suppress the curve of her lips. But Gu Huai didn't see it. He called my phone. The first time, no one answered. The second time, no one answered. The third time, still no one answered. Shin Kinga pressed on her stomach beside him, her face turning a few shades paler. Gu Huai looked over, stomach hurting again. It's fine. She shook her head, forcing a smile. You should take care of your sister-in-law first. I can manage on my own. Gu Huai looked at her pale lips. He remembered her saying yesterday that her stomach hurt so much she couldn't sleep all night. So, he put his phone away. I'll take you to the hospital first. Shin Kinga quickly said, No need, really no need. Don't be stubborn. After he finished speaking, he sent me another message. Let's talk when I get back in the evening. I didn't reply. Gu Huai was a bit annoyed. Su Wan wasn't like this before. She would cry, ask, and wait. Even when truly angry, she would still leave him a way out. Her harshest moment was locking herself in the bedroom for an entire night, only to come out the next day and cook him porridge. Gu Huai knew her all too well, familiar to the point where he never imagined that one day she would actually leave. At 7:00 in the evening, Gu Huai returned home. On the dining table were dishes I loved to eat. Gu's mother sat at the head of the table, her expression grim. Where is she? Gu Huai adjusted his tie. She'll come back. Gu's mother sneered, always threatening divorce. Su Wan is really becoming more and more outrageous. Gu Huai didn't say anything. 8:00, 9:00, 10:00. The food on the table has completely cooled down. I didn't come back. Mother Gu finally couldn't stay still. Call her. Gu Huai made the call. On the 7th attempt, a cold, automated voice came from the phone. The subscriber you dialed is powered off. For a moment, his heart suddenly felt hollow, like a lamp that lights up every day. It went out without warning, but he quickly pushed down that discomfort. She just turned off her phone. It will turn on tomorrow. Tomorrow she will come back. Look at him with red eyes and say, Gu Huai, why are you always like this? Then he'll coax her for a bit. Send another bouquet of white roses. The matter will be over. It has always been this way. It wasn't until the next day that Gu Huai realized the matter wasn't over. Half the wardrobe was empty. It didn't look like someone had rummaged through it in a fit of pique. All my clothes had been taken away neatly, even the hangers reorganized by color. The empty space was so orderly it made my heart race. Only his toothbrush remained on the sink. In the study, all my design books were gone. A few faint dust marks were left on the bookshelf. I even took my slippers with me. Gu Huai stood at the bedroom door for the first time, feeling that this house was too big, so big that even the sound of breathing felt cold. Auntie stood beside him at a loss. Sir, Madam came back yesterday. She took some things and left the keys. Gu Huai turned his head. On the entryway cabinet were the keys to their marital home, a secondary card, and a list. It wasn't a letter. It was a list of property management, utilities, parking space, insurance beneficiaries, and records of family account disassociation. Everything was handled clearly. No complaints, no nonsense, as if I wasn't leaving a marriage. But it was to cancel an account I had used for 3 years. Gu Huai picked up the paper, his fingers slowly tightening. He walked back to the bedroom and saw the wedding album still placed by the bedside. I chose the cover, beige. I used to really like this kind of thing. Train tickets, movie stubs, restaurant receipts. I would clip them all inside. Gu Huai always thought it was unnecessary. That day, he sat by the bed and opened the first page. The first page is a photo of us, right after getting our marriage certificate. I'm wearing a white shirt, my hair tied up, smiling with my eyes crinkled. There's a line of text beside it. Starting today, we are a family. The handwriting is round and somewhat childish. Gu Huai felt an inexplicable tightness in his throat. Further on were wedding photos, photos of the new home. He accompanied me to the supermarket for the first time to buy a pot. We picked out curtains together. As Timmy went on, there were fewer and fewer photos. On a certain page, there was a yellowed payment slip tucked inside. The date was September 17th. 3 years ago. Emergency department. Follow-up after uterine curettage. Gu Huai stared at the date, his fingers frozen. He remembered that day. Shen Kinga drank too much at the party and called him, saying she was scared being out alone. I called him, too. 1, 2, 3. He didn't pick up. When the 7th call connected, he heard my voice trembling. Gu Huai, can you come to the hospital? He was supporting Shen Kinga at the time, surrounded by the smell of alcohol and the noise of people. He said, Kinga drank too much. I'll get back to you later. Later. He didn't reply. The next day, when I returned home, my face was very pale. He asked me what was wrong. I said, it's nothing. He believed it, or rather, he needed me to be fine. Gu Huai kept slipping backward. Gastroscopy report. Emergency registration form. Early morning taxi record. Hospital payment screenshot. Under each one, there are small notes written by me. Very short. Gu Huai is at the Tsinghua Art Exhibition. Gu Huai said I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Gu Huai had his assistant deliver porridge. Gu Huai didn't answer the phone. The later it got, the fewer the words. On the last page, there was half a pregnancy test slip. It had been torn, leaving only the bottom half. There was a line of doctor's advice above. Family members are advised to accompany for further examination. Where did the other half go? Gu Huai didn't know. He never knew. The phone rang. It was Shen Qinghua. Gu Huai looked at the memory album, hesitating to answer. The phone went dead, then rang again. He finally picked up. Shen Qinghua's voice was very soft. Huai, are you okay? Auntie, said sister-in-law, moved away. Is it because of me? Gu Huai lowered his head, looking at the pregnancy test. Slip torn in half. Qinghua, September 17th. 3 years ago. Do you remember what happened? There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Very brief. So short, it was almost negligible. Then she said, it's been so long. I don't really remember. What's wrong? Gu Huai closed his eyes briefly. Nothing. He hung up the phone. That night, for the first time, he couldn't sleep. Not because I was gone. It was because he suddenly realized that I had endured so much pain alone, in places he couldn't see. When I woke up after the surgery, my throat was as dry as if I had swallowed sand. The nurse gave me some water. Your emergency contact has been changed to Lin Sher. I nodded. Thank you. She glanced at my phone. There are a lot of missed calls. I didn't look. I knew who it was. In the past, whenever Gu Huai called me, I would always answer, even if I was taking a shower, in a meeting, getting in 4 drip, or had just fallen asleep at 3:00 a.m., because I was always afraid he'd be upset if he couldn't find me. Later, I finally understood. He couldn't find me not because he needed me, just because he wasn't used to it. On the day I was discharged, Lin, she came to pick me up. When she saw my face, her eyes turned red on the spot. Suguan, are you sick? You didn't even tell me you were having surgery. I said, I did tell you. You would cry. She snatched my bag away. I'm crying now. She scolded me while helping me into the car. My new place was rented in advance. Over 40 square meters. 1 bedroom and 1 living room. Facing south. There's a breakfast stall downstairs, and the smell of fried dough sticks wafts up at 6:00 in the morning. It was much more modest compared to Gu Huai's 200 square meter apartment, but the moment I opened the door, my heart felt very calm. I didn't have to wait for anyone to come home. I didn't have to guess who he'd be with tonight. No need to make excuses for yourself at the dinner table. I opened the suitcase and casually hung the clothes in the wardrobe. No need to arrange them by color. No need to place his suit in the most convenient spot. No need to clear a drawer for his tie. This room is small, but every inch belongs to me. In the afternoon, I turned on my computer and started dealing with things I should have handled long ago. Contact a lawyer, organize marital assets, apply for division of marital property, Cease assuming subsequent guarantee risks for Gu Huai's company. Retrieve my medical records from the past 3-year S. And that brand proposal that was altered to bear Xin Qing his signature. On the other end of the phone, after listening, Lawyer Qin asked me, Miss Su, are you sure you want to pursue this matter? It's been quite some time. Confirmed. Original drafts. Creation timestamps. Document circulation records. And chat logs are required. I said, all available. The computer screen was lit. In the folder, there are the first draft, second draft, third draft, and 17th draft. Each version has its creation time. Each version has my revision records. And there are also the messages Gu Huai sent me back then. 1-1. Don't release the byline yet. Let's get the investors to fully recognize his background first. You are my wife. There's no need to compete with Qinghua for such superficial titles. When the project stabilizes, I'll definitely make it up to you. I looked at those sentences and suddenly smiled. Attorney Qin asked, what's wrong? Nothing. I just feel like I used to be quite foolish. I have never been one to leave no evidence behind. I just used to believe too much that love doesn't need proof. Gu Huai found my old studio on the 4th day. Of course, he came up empty-handed. That studio had already been vacated. A new tenant's information is posted on the door. The young woman at the front desk recognized him and seemed a bit nervous. Mr. Gu, Sister Su has already moved out. She left 3 days ago. Gu Huai stood at the doorway. Where did she go? I don't know. What about the new number? She didn't leave it. Gu Huai's expression darkened. I am her husband. The young girl looked at him, her voice dropping a bit. Sister Su said she is no longer Mrs. Gu. Gu Huai was pricked by these words. He took out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Only then did he realize that he actually didn't know who my friends were. I had told him, this is my college classmate Lin Shi. We have a very good relationship. At that time, he was replying to Xinqing his message and only responded with an MM. Next week, Xiao Zhou invited me to have hot pot. Do you want to join? He said he was busy. I never asked again after that. Now, standing at the entrance of my empty studio, he finally realized something. All these years, I had hardly ever truly entered his life. It wasn't that I didn't want to. He didn't let me in. The receptionist girl hesitated for a moment. Mr. Gu, Sister Su left a message before she left. Gu Huai looked up. What? She said. Don't ever pass on the title Mrs. Gu to her again. The young girl paused, as if hesitating to speak. Gu Huai stared at her, and then she whispered. She thought it was dirty. Gu Huai stood still. That sentence hit him like a slap, leaving his face burning with pain. Back at the company, as soon as he entered his office, his assistant handed him a letter from a lawyer. I have formally entrusted my lawyer to handle the division of marital assets and the dispute over authorship of the works. The attached list of evidence was quite thick. Joint marital expenses, guarantee materials, occupied design plans, original brand identity source files from the early days of Gu Huai Company, email correspondence, chat records, modification time. Everything is clearly listed. He flipped to the end and saw a screenshot. It was one he himself had sent. You are my wife. No need to compete with Qinghua for such hollow titles. Gu Huai's hand froze. He used to think there was nothing wrong with that statement. Between husband and wife, one shouldn't keep score. Now he realizes that what he called not keeping score was actually just telling me not to keep score. If Xin Qinhao wants fame, he'll give it to her. His mother wanted dignity, and he gave it. The company needed financing, and he provided it. Only when I asked for credit, he told me to be sensible. The phone rang. It's a hospital. Mr. Gu. Hello. The system shows that you are Ms. Su Wan's emergency contact. We need to update her post-operative follow-up information, but we can't reach her previous family records. So we'd like to confirm with you whether we should delete your contact information going forward. Gu Hai suddenly stood up. What surgery did she have? Opposite paused. Sorry. Specific medical conditions are patient privacy. We cannot disclose. I am her husband. System records show that Ms. Su has applied to change her emergency contact. Gu Hai gripped his phone. his knuckles turning white. When was she operated on? The other person remained silent for a moment before saying, "The day of the divorce registration." After the call ended, Gu Hai stood in his office for a long time. Then he grabbed his car keys and rushed out. The nurses at the hospital still remembered him. To be precise, they remembered me. Gu Hai arrived with a terrible expression. He stood in front of the nurses' station. His voice kept very low. "What surgery did Su Wan have?" The nurse glanced at him. "Patient privacy cannot be disclosed. I am her husband." The nurse flipped through the system, her tone very calm. "The system shows that Ms. Su has changed her emergency contact." Gu Hai seemed not to understand. I asked her what surgery she had. The nurse looked up at him. "Mr. Gu, being a family member isn't something you can just claim now that you've remembered." Gu Huai's face instantly paled. Someone nearby glanced over. He suppressed his anger. "What do you mean by that?" The nurse put down the pen. "It means when she came in, she was in so much pain she couldn't even straighten her back. She signed the papers herself, paid the fees herself, and walked into the operating room alone. When we asked about her family, she said she had just gotten divorced." Gu Huai stood motionless, his throat feeling blocked. The nurse added, 3 years ago on September 17th, when she had the miscarriage, I was on duty." Gu Huai suddenly looked up. The nurse looked at him. "She called you 7 times, and the last one got through." After she hung up, she sat alone outside the emergency room, sweating so much her clothes were soaked. Yet, she told us she was fine. Gu Huai's hands slowly lowered. She came to the hospital many times, often alone. The nurse's voice was not loud, but every word felt like a nail. "Mr. Gu, she didn't suddenly abandon you. It was because you failed to show up time and time again. That night, Gu Huai sent me a message. 'Why didn't you tell me you were having surgery?' I looked at that sentence. After a long time, I replied, 'I told you.' He immediately replied, 'When?' I typed, 3 years ago, September 17th at 8:13 p.m., the 7th call. There was silence on the other end for a long time. Then he sent 3 words. 'I'm sorry.' I looked at those 3 words, but my heart didn't feel the satisfaction I had imagined. It was too late. Some apologies are like expired medicine. You know, they might have been useful once, but taking them now will only make you sick." Gu Huai began investigating Shinkinga. I didn't force him to investigate. It was he who finally realized those coincidences were too precise. On my birthday, her art exhibition opened. When I had a stomach hemorrhage, she had stomach pain. I had surgery, and she had low blood sugar. I had a miscarriage, and she had an emotional breakdown. Each time wasn't a big deal, but each time was just enough to make Gu Huai leave me. He first checked September 17th. 3 years ago, Shen Kinga said that day that she had just returned from the airport and had a stomach ache alone. However, the location tracking showed that she had been near the gallery all afternoon. The so-called airport was just a pre-taken photo of a suitcase. On my birthday, her art exhibition opened. She had set the date a month in advance. By then, she already knew it was my birthday because she had once seen my birthday party invitation at Gu Huai's mother's place. The day I had a gastric hemorrhage, she said she was having stomach pain at a hotel. Later, when I checked the hospital appointment records, she had already scheduled a gastroscopy at a private hospital in the morning, but canceled it in the afternoon. 3 minutes after canceling, she sent a message to Gu Huai. Why? I think my stomach pain is so bad I can't even stand up." The day I had a miscarriage, she sent a message to Gu Huai. "I don't want to disturb you, but I really can't hold on today." There was another sentence below. "Will my sister-in-law blame me? Maybe you shouldn't come after all." Of course, Gu Huai went because Shen Kinga's smartest trait was never directly grabbing something. She would always say, "It's fine, I can do it alone. Don't argue with me and sister-in-law." She offered the choice to Gu Huai, then pretended she didn't want it. And every time, Gu Huai accepted. The final piece of evidence was the chat history in Gu Huai's mother's phone. Shin Kinga said, "Auntie, if Su Wan really leaves, Gu Huai will realize who is more suitable for him." Gu's mother replied, You're much more sensible than she is. Shin Kinga added, your sister-in-law isn't in good health. Maybe the child's matter is fate. Someone from the Gu family will have to take care of Ah Huai in the future. That night, Gu Huai smashed his phone. The screen is shattered. A shard cuts his finger. Blood drips onto the black screen, reflecting his disheveled face. He finally realizes it's not a misunderstanding, not a coincidence, nor a twist of fate. It was a carefully designed trap, and he was the one who cooperated most willingly in the setup. The next day, Shin Kinga came to see me. She wore a light blue long dress, her hair draped over her shoulders, and her eyes were red, still that clean, fragile look, always the one getting hurt. I met her at the cafe. The first thing she said when she sat down was, sister-in-law. I look up, address her as Miss Sue. Her face turns pale. I'm sorry. I couldn't change it right away. I didn't say anything. She pushed a document toward me. This is the supplementary explanation for the brand proposal. I can tell others that you were also involved. I opened it. Been involved. Not the main creator. Not original. Just been involved. I almost laughed out loud. Shin Kinga, do you think I'm easy to get rid of? Tears immediately fell from her eyes. I know you blame me, but I really didn't mean to. Back then, Gu Huai's company needed a better resume. I was just helping out. What about my name? She bit her lip. You're already Mrs. Gu. You don't need this. I put down the documents and turned on my phone's voice recorder. Shen Qing's expression changed. I said, go on. She stared at me, the gentleness in her eyes gradually fading away. Su Wan, do you really have to be like this? Like what? You're already divorced, and Gu Huai has suffered enough at your hands. Now you're going after the credit, and you just want to ruin me. I looked at her. When you stole from me, did you ever think you'd ruin me? It's just a credit. Yes, I nodded. It's just a signature. Why won't you return it? She was speechless. I pushed the document back. And don't call me sister-in-law. I stood up. I find it disgusting. The statement for signature rights protection was issued by Attorney Chin on my behalf. No crying or complaining. No marriage gossip. Only 3 pieces of evidence. First, the source file of the early brand proposal created by me. Second, the 17th draft and revision records. Third, chat records where Gu Huai acknowledged me as the lead creator. The caption is just one sentence. Regarding the original ownership of the Qing, he returns brand full case. I have entrusted a lawyer to handle the matter. Please, relevant parties, cease using my work for commercial promotion. Within 10 minutes of posting, Shin Qing's comment section exploded. Her fans accused me of jealousy, called me crazy after my divorce, and said I couldn't stand seeing my ex doing well. Half an hour later, an industry designer reposted my evidence. He said, from creative logic to visual language, this set of works clearly continues Su Wan's early artistic system. The exhibited version resembles a later packaging. Unlike an original creation, an hour later, Gu Huai's company's official account closed comments. But what truly caused Shen Kinga's downfall was not the online comments. It was the brand launch event 3 days later. That day, she wore a white evening gown, stood on stage, and spoke with tears in her eyes about her so-called original creative intention. This plan originated from a dream I had 3 years ago. Applause erupted from the audience. She lowered her head and smiled faintly. I had just returned to the country back then, and my health wasn't great. I was in a very fragile state. It was Mr. Gu who kept encouraging me, urging me to paint the things from my dreams. Gu Huai sat in the front row, his expression grim. He had already asked her to step back from public appearances ahead of time. But Shen Kinga wouldn't listen. She knew all too well how to position herself as the victim. She said, I don't want to explain too much. The innocent need no defense. The words had just fallen. The large screen suddenly switched. It wasn't the promotional video she had prepared, but rather a folder interface. First draft, second draft, third draft, 17th draft. Creator, Suguan. Creation time, May 17th, 3 years ago. Each source file was created earlier than Shin Kinga's so-called creation time. The scene was deathly silent. The smile on Shin Kinga's face froze. The next second, her voice came from the speakers. You're already divorced, and Gu Huai has suffered enough at your hands. Now you're pursuing the signature. Don't you just want to ruin me? Then came my voice. When you stole from me, did you ever think you'd ruin me? Shin Kinga had turned around abruptly. The staff scrambled to shut down the equipment, but it was already too late. The screen continues to play. Her voice is clear and distinct. It's just a signature. The audience erupts in an uproar. Someone picked up their phone to record. Someone directly left the venue. Shin Kinga's face is pale as paper. She instinctively looked toward Gu Huai. In the past, whenever she looked at him like that, he would always get up and clean up the mess for her. This time, Gu Huai did not move. He sat there, his face ashen, as if he had finally seen in front of the crowd what exactly he had been protecting all these years. On the evening of the press conference, Gu Huai's company released a statement admitting improper handling of the original creative ownership of the brand project. They announced a suspension of related commercial usage and pledged cooperation in subsequent rights confirmation. All collaborations with Shin Kinga have been suspended. The talented woman persona she had cultivated in the industry for 3 years suddenly cracked overnight. Mrs. Gu came to see me on the third day after the press conference went off the rails. She arranged to meet me at a private dining restaurant. When I arrived, she was already seated in the private room. A pot of tea was set on the table. She still looked the same as before, with pearls around her neck and jade rings on her fingers. Even her frown seemed to be finding fault with others. Sugwan, the first thing she said was, "Have you had enough of this?" I sat down without touching the tea. "Mrs. Gu, if you have something to say, just say it." Her expression darkened. I used to call her mom. She doesn't like it. Now I call her Mrs. Gu. She doesn't like it either. You and Gu Huai were married at least. No need to drive things to such an extreme. I laughed. You didn't say that when my name was changed. Mrs. Gu set her teacup down on the table. A woman can't truly drive a man to ruin after a divorce. Gu Huai has lost a lot of weight these past few days because of you. Shin Kinga was wrong, but you can't take this chance to destroy the Gu family's company. I looked at her. So are you here today to apologize for Gu Huai or to negotiate terms for the Gu family? Gu's mother frowned. Su-wan, don't be ungrateful. The Gu family is willing to compensate you. We've already given you enough dignity. I took out my phone from my bag and opened a recording. Her voice came out from it. A woman like Su-wan already extremely fortunate to marry into the Gu family. Kinga is more sensible than her, and more impressive, too. Perhaps it was fate that the child was lost. The Gu family can't possibly pin their hopes on someone with her condition. Mrs. Gu's expression gradually shifted. I turned off the recording. The private room was so quiet that only the sound of steam rising from the tea could be heard. I said, "Mrs. Gu, dignity is not something you gave me. It was because of Gu Huai in the past that I allowed you to maintain your dignity all along." Her lips trembled slightly. And one more thing. I pushed a legal document across the table. This isn't a discussion. It's a notification. Gu's mother opened it, her expression growing increasingly unpleasant. I stood up. I no longer want the position of Mrs. Gu. You can pick up the Gu family's dignity yourselves. When I reached the door, Mother Gu suddenly called out to me, "Su-wan, do you really think you can live a good life after leaving Gu Huai?" I stopped. I turned back to look at her. At least in the future, when I'm in pain, I won't have to wait for someone who won't come. Gu's mother didn't speak again. The day Gu Huai came to see me, I had just returned from the supermarket. I was carrying a bag of groceries. He stood downstairs, much thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. His suit was still neat, but he looked as if all his vitality had been drained away. "Wan." I stopped. "Talk to my lawyer. I'm not here about that." His voice is hoarse. "I want to apologize to you." I looked at him. I used to wait a long time for Th's words, so long that when I finally heard them, I felt nothing. Gu Huai took a step forward. "I found out everything. I know all about what Shin Qingha did. I also know what my mother said, and your surgery, your medical records, your work. As he spoke, his eyes turned red. I really had no idea you went through so much hardship before. I suddenly smiled. Gu Huai, you don't understand again. His face turned pale. I said, you don't know how much pain I endured the day I miscarried. Unable to stand. You don't know I had a gastric hemorrhage. You don't know about my surgery. You don't know my name was changed. I don't know how your mother insulted me. I don't know why Xinqing always happens to get into trouble. I looked at him. Then what exactly have you known over these past THRE years? He didn't answer. I spoke for him. You only know that Xinqing cried, that she was hurt, that she was suffering, that life abroad wasn't easy for her. Gu Huai's tears fell. Wan, I'm sorry, carrying that bag of groceries. I suddenly felt exhausted. Not sad, just absurd. I used to want him to bow his head so much. Now he's really bowing his head. But a bag of vegetables in my hand matters more to me than his apology. I walked past him and headed upstairs. Gu Huai said from behind, I can compensate you. I stopped. He spoke urgently, as if grasping at a lifeline. House, money, studio, doctor, studying abroad, whatever you want. I can give it to you. I won't see Xinqing again, and I won't let my mom bother you either. Since your health isn't good, I'll accompany you to recuperate. If you want to continue doing design, I'll help you secure resources. I turned to look at him. Gu Huai, a glimmer of hope lit up in his eyes. I said, everything you're giving me now is something you had the ability to give back then, but chose not to. That glimmer of light went out. When I was sick, you had a car, you had time, you had a phone. When I was falsely credited, you knew the truth. When your mother insulted me, you were sitting right there. You could have chosen not to go each time Xinqing told you to leave. I looked at him and said slowly, word by word, you're not unable to give. You just don't want to give. Gu Huai stood downstairs, tears falling drop by drop. I didn't look at him anymore. Belated affection is not compensation. It serves as a reminder of how little I was worth back then. Gu Huai started coming to my building every day. From 7:00 in the morning until 10:00 at night. Don't knock. Don't disturb. Just sit in the car. Lin sure cursed him for being crazy. What took you so long? Now, pretending to be deeply emotional. Who are you trying to impress? I was packing my bags and didn't respond. She was taken aback for a moment. You're really leaving? I nodded. The visa has been approved. I had applied for the overseas study program twice. The first time was when Gu Huai's company was raising funds. He said, I need you during this time. And I gave up. The second time, we were having a child. He said, let's wait until the child is stable. And I gave up again. The third time, I didn't tell anyone again. I never put anyone else's life before mine again. Lin, she crouched beside the suitcase, stuffing stomach medicine into my bag. When you get there, don't skimp too much. Rent a safe place to live. Take your medicine on time. Don't forget it when you're busy. You're more nagging than my mom. Her eyes reddened. If your mom had been more reliable, you wouldn't have been so desperate to hold on to Gu Huai's family back then. I paused for a moment. She realized she had gone too far. Late. It's nothing. I folded my clothes. You're telling the truth. I once longed so much for a home. So when Gu Huai gave me a little warmth, I mistook it for a fire. Only later did I realize that some fires are not meant for warmth. They are meant to burn people. The day before I left, Gu Huai received a delivery. Inside was the wedding album and a medical recommendation. The doctor's writing was very restrained. Adhesion after uterine cavity surgery carries a higher risk for future pregnancy. If planning to conceive, long-term evaluation is required and decisions should be made cautiously. There is no never able to. There is no absolute verdict. Gu Huai looked at it for a long time because he knew for me the answer was already over. He recalled me sitting across the dining table, quietly asking him, Gu Huai, shall we have a child someday? At that time, he was reading the company's financial report, not even lifting his head. Wait a bit longer. The company is too busy. Then, when it's not busy, okay, MHM. I waited. Wait until the miscarriage. Wait until the follow-up check. Wait until going to the hospital alone. Time and time again. Wait until the doctor tells me it's not advisable to take risks lightly anymore. Until I finally didn't want to have any future with him anymore. That night, Gu Huai stood downstairs for the entire night. I didn't open the curtains, not because I was afraid of softening my heart. He wasn't worth another glance from me. The airport was at 6:00 in the morning. It wasn't fully light yet. Lin sure saw me off to the departure hall, muttering all the way. Passport, visa, medicine, charger, plug adapter, document folder, and your stomach medicine. Where did you put them? I patted my bag. All here. She sniffed. Message me when you arrive. Okay, don't start working as soon as you land. Okay, try to eat less cold food. Okay. Her eyes were extremely red, yet she still stubbornly waved her hand. Let's go. Don't make it seem like a farewell for life. I was just about to move forward when I saw Gu Huai. He stood behind the crowd clutching that old commemorative album in his hand, still wearing that dark suit. He just looked utterly disheveled. His eyes were red and his cuffs were wrinkled. He didn't stride over as forcefully as he used to. He just stood there, looking at me. Lin Sher's face immediately darkened. I'll go scold him. I grabbed her. No need. I dragged my suitcase over. Gu Huai looked at me, his lips moving slightly. Wan, I said. I'm in a hurry. He lowered his head, looking at the commemorative album in his hand. I know you won't look back. I didn't speak, but I want to say one thing to you. The airport announcement sounded the boarding reminder. My flight number echoed through the hall. Gu Huai's voice was soft. For these 3 years, it's not that I didn't love you. I looked up at him. His tears fell. I took your love for granted. I thought no matter how I treated you, you would always be there. I thought when you said it was okay, it really was okay. I thought every time you looked back, it was because you couldn't leave me. He clenched the commemorative album tightly. Only later did I realize that every time you looked back, you were giving me a chance. It's that I never caught it once. I looked at him. 3 years ago, I would have cried because of this sentence. 2 years ago, I would have softened. A year ago, I would have asked him, will you change in the future? But now, I just feel the airport's air conditioning is a bit too cold. I pulled my scarf up a little higher, seeing this gesture. Gu Huai's gaze suddenly shattered. He probably thought I'd say something, scold him, blame him, or ask him why he only understands now. But I didn't say anything. I just took a card out of my bag and handed it to him. It was the card from the last bouquet of white roses. Stop fooling around. Come home for dinner tonight. Gu Huai stared at the card, his face gradually turning pale. I said, Gu Huai, I used to really hate white roses. His throat tightened. I'm sorry. I don't hate it now. He froze. I smiled, because it's already nothing to me. Just like you. The announcement reminded passengers to board again. I turned around and walked forward. Gu Huai suddenly called out to me, Suguan. I paused for a moment. Many years ago, when I first returned home with him, I was walking ahead just like this. Back then, there were many members in the Gu family. The voices were chaotic, and I was so nervous that my palms were sweating. Every few steps, I would turn back to look at him. He stood behind, talking on the phone, waving at me to go in by myself. For many years after that, I kept turning back, waiting for him to finish his work, waiting for his explanation, waiting for him to choose me, waiting for him to love me. This time, I didn't look back. The glass door closed behind me. I walked into the gate. My phone vibrated. Gu Huai sent one final message. Wan, have a safe journey. I glanced at it. Delete contact. Power off. The city grew smaller and smaller beneath the clouds as the plane took off. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. My body still ached a little. My stomach wasn't feeling too well, either. But suddenly, I remembered I had many small things. The soy milk downstairs of the new apartment building is actually delicious. Lin, she secretly stuffed 2 packs of spicy strips into my suitcase. My supervisor replied via email saying he was looking forward to seeing my work. And me at 24, she sat in the restaurant, the apartment, drawing until 3:00 in the morning. Her eyes frighteningly bright. She was not Mrs. Gu, not anyone's wife, not just any woman behind someone. She's just Suwan. The one I almost lost and finally found again. Epilogue. 3 years later, I held my first solo design exhibition. The exhibition was called Return. Return the name, return the body, return the artwork. Also return those wasted years. At the far end of the exhibition hall, there is an installation piece. Inside a transparent acrylic cabinet, several dried white roses are sealed. Beside each bouquet, there is a card placed. Rest well. Happy birthday. Eat more. Stop fooling around. Come home for dinner tonight. A visitor at the exhibition asked me, Teacher Sue, what does this set of works mean? Is it about an old flame? I smiled. No. What is it then? I said, it's archiving. The man was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. As the exhibition was nearing its end, the assistant approached and whispered, Teacher Sue, there's a Mr. Boo outside who says he'd like to see you. I was just organizing my lecture notes. Hearing this surname, I paused for only a second. Which Mr. Boo? The assistant froze. I looked up at her. She quickly came to her senses. Understood. She turned and walked out. Outside the glass door, people were coming and going. I saw a man in a dark suit standing in the distance, holding a bouquet of white roses. He had lost a lot of weight compared to 3 years ago, and he had become much quieter. He didn't come forward, didn't call out to me, just looked at me for a long time from across the crowd. I withdrew my gaze and continued confirming the next exhibit. Tie and date with the curator. The gallery lights came down. The white roses in the acrylic cabinet were withered and yellowed, like an old item that should have been sealed away long ago. A few minutes later, the assistant returned. He said, he won't disturb you anymore. Should we keep the flowers? I glanced down at the documents in my hand. No need. The assistant nodded. I added, from now on, don't accept any personal bouquets. Okay, Teacher Sue. That night, I received an email from the Overseas Design Association. They invited me to be a judge for the next youth designers competition. The email was addressed to Ms. Sue Wan, not Mrs. Gu, not anyone's wife, only my name. I stared for a long time, then smiled and clicked confirm. It was already dark outside the exhibition hall. I changed out of my high heels and put on flat shoes, then left through the back door. The wind on the street was gentle. On the phone, Lynn. She sent a message. The celebration dinner is booked. Hot pot, a split pot. You're not allowed to eat too spicy. I replied to her with a smile. Got it, Mom Lynn. Ahead were lights, crowds, and the steaming night. I pulled my scarf up a little higher. This time, it wasn't because of the cold. It was because when the wind blew over, I suddenly felt very comfortable. I walked forward without looking back.